Okay, I call this meeting to order at 6:00 p.m. of the Agricultural Advisory Board. If we could have a moment of silence followed by an invocation.
Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for the rain that you've blessed us with and the sun. Thank you for all that you've done to us. Thank you for 250 years of faithfulness to our country. And Lord, help us to be found faithful to you. Bless our meeting time together. Lord, help us to make wise choices in Christ's name. Amen.
Please join us in the pledge. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to move the approval of minutes to our next meeting?
Second? Or you want a motion? I move that we move the minutes to the next meeting, the approval of the minutes to the next meeting. Second.
Second. All in favor, raise your hand. All right, so the minutes, we will approve the May 12th minutes at our next Ag Board meeting. We do not have any public comment, so our next item is an update about the farm crawl from Miss Christy Carlton. Thank you for coming.
Thank you guys for having me. Everybody doing well?
Yes.
Good. I've got a couple of really fun updates to share with you guys today. Lots of exciting things going on for the rest of the year. But first I wanted to start with the May 16th farm crawl and just recap how that went for you guys. We had 24 local farms in Oconee open their gates for the day. We had 1,000 guests from our community go and visit those farms. And I have some fun statistics for you about how the farm crawl is bringing in some significant tourism here into Oconee County. We had visitors from 69 cities across 11 states. 8 of those cities were within Oconee County, 28 other South Carolina cities, and 34 cities outside of South Carolina came and visited the farm crawl. And so that's just super fun to see the excitement around our local farms and that people outside of our county are coming in to enjoy that as well. I think it was a really successful day. We had some really fun reviews from both farmers and from guests. I know Rex attended a couple of farms. Were any of the rest of you able to come and visit a couple farms on the 16th?
Unfortunately, I was in a class on that day.
It's all good. It was a lot of fun. So thank you guys for your participation and support. I did wanted to hand out, these came out the week after I met with y'all in May. And so this is our new local magazine. It's called Homegrown. And it is filled with stories of local farms, makers, artisans, small businesses, recipes, stories, all the fun things that make Oconee County such a great place to live. And so that's been really fun too. All the farm crawl participants received one of those. We printed 2,000 copies. They are in 22 locations around the county, including the South Carolina Welcome Center. And this is our last box. So all 2,000 are out in the community, which is really exciting. And hopefully that becomes something like a biannual tradition. Our next issue will come out in September in accordance with the farm crawl in September. So take a look. I would love your feedback. If there's any stories that you feel like would be great to be told in the magazine, reach out and let us know. If any of you have businesses that you'd like to advertise in the magazine, we're trying to keep it 100% Oconee County. So all of the writing, all of the photography, the design, the editing, and the printing are all done here in Oconee, so that's fun. Another fun update for you. After your meeting, I left inspired to have conversations with farmers in our community about the moratorium and about the ordinances that are being discussed. And so we did a quick online survey for farmers to have their voices heard. We didn't get as much feedback as I was hoping for, but we got a good amount, and I was able to compile a report on the thoughts that farmers have about ordinances, protecting land, protecting farmland, and I went ahead and sent that on. So thank you so much for your help with that. Hopefully that is helpful information for the Planning Commission as they do that. Also some fun partnerships going on. So I've been humbled to be a part of a group of the Chamber of Commerce, the Oconee Economic Alliance, and Visit Oconee. And we are thinking through how to promote everything Oconee County, which the magazine is a part of, my podcast is a part of. And so it's called Think Oconee. I think you probably have heard that before, but that's kind of being resurrected with a whole group of leaders from the county. And we just got out of a meeting for that, and it's really exciting. So that's launching in the fall as well. Let's see. And then the Fall Farm Crawl, we are ramping up tonight. We're announcing the very first farm. That date will be September 19th. And again, we have 24 local farms, different farms. We have 4 brand new farms to the crawl in September. And tickets go on sale August 3rd. So we're really excited. This is becoming a really fun movement and tradition in the county. We already have people asking for tickets. So if you guys aren't busy, mark your calendars, September 19th. It really is just a lot of fun to get on the farms and meet these small farmers. So, yeah, any questions for me?
It was a fantastic day. I made it to 5 of them, even though I got a
Nice.
late start. I made it to 5, and they were all impressive and just very welcoming. And it was just a successful day, I thought. It was great.
Good, good.
Yeah, that's really amazing, all the stuff that you're doing. This magazine looks really cool. I'm excited to dive into it.
Thank you,
and
thank
read
you.
this stuff.
And what, again, if you have something to promote in there for the Food Council, for the Ag Council, whatever that is, send that my way. Because we really, that's the heart, is to feature all the good things going on in the county.
And there's so many farms we didn't realize.
I know, there's
there's
new
niche
farms to me this time. I've been visiting this week, the newer farms that signed up for the crawl, and I didn't even know they were there, and some of them are right near me, so,
Very cool.
yeah, it's very cool.
How often would this come out, the magazine?
So that's twice a year, at least for this year. I'm gonna need a team if we go beyond that.
A big endeavor
Yes.
doing this.
Yes,
It's very chock full of articles and pictures. It's very
Very pretty.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
yes.
and full.
Yep, Cornerstone Design did all the design, and then Meredith ePhotography did most of the photography. So very talented people in our county.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thanks for having
Appreciate
me.
the update.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. So next on our agenda is an update from the South Carolina Farmers Bureau. If there's anything new that you want to share, Mr. Whiten, do you have any info?
We haven't met yet, but maybe next month I can give you an update.
Okay, do you know when your next meeting is?
It's gonna be in 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay. We'll look forward to that update. And then, update from the Farm Center? Any updates on that?
I asked Mr. Andy to come. He had a conflict, so he couldn't make it, but
They have a meeting tonight.
did he send you any updates or anything?
No, they're meeting the same time ours. is.
Okay.
They had the same day as the farm crawl, they had a very successful agricultural day. A lot of people were at that, and a lot of good demonstrations of the ag power and some animals, and it was a real good day, real good day.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, for the rest of the agenda, the Ag Advisory Board, as an advisory board to the Planning Commission and to council, because of this development moratorium in effect until January 19th, is that the date?
Yes.
Okay, so it's in effect, so the Planning Commission's gonna be working on development standards and improvement or tightening up in some areas based on community feedback. There's gonna be several community feedback public meetings for the citizens of Oconee to be able to attend and give feedback about developments. And as the Ag Advisory Board, it's important for us to, if we see areas that can be improved, to give our advice or recommendations to the Planning Commission, to council. So we have in front of us these very large documents that Deanne has printed off for us. These are really meant to, the comprehensive plan was developed in 2020, and it was developed over, and you can correct me if you have better info, Deanne, but I did read through the introduction, and we had, the Planning Commission had public hearings for this comprehensive plan. They had over, I think, 500 comments or 500 citizens attended these meetings to inform this comprehensive plan. There were over 250 comments at the meetings, plus another over 1,100 surveys were filled out to inform this comprehensive plan. And so the Planning Commission kind of developed the plan and the council approved the plan. It's a living document, so it's kind of constantly being updated, or it's meant to be updated and at least reviewed after the first 5 years. So 2025 was kind of meant to be the review period. I'm not sure how much review happened.
I think it was a cursory review, and it will be updated in totality in 2030.
In 2030, because it is meant to be a 10-year living document, kind of working document.
Yes.
And redeveloped after 10 years. And so it did come from a lot of community input. I saw that the Planning Commission had over 20 meetings just to develop this, and also had 14 different stakeholder focus groups to develop this plan. So it's important as the Ag Advisory Board for us to be kind of doing a little bit of homework, and the relevant chapters for us to focus on are in front of us. We have Natural Resources, Chapter 6, Agriculture, Chapter 8, and Chapter 11 is our land use element. So this is based on a lot of different work went into this to develop these, just kind of a review of what we have. And then in the back of each chapter is a chart, a table of the kind of working recommendations, objectives that the Planning Commission and county laid out as strategies to support these areas of the county. So with the moratorium ending in January, it's our goal to look through these chapters, look through these strategies and objectives, and maybe it'll be more important for different people in different districts to be looking at certain objectives, but look at them and look into what has been followed, where there might be discrepancies, and come up with a few recommendations for council and the Planning Commission on these development standards. I've been looking through, and we also have the Ag Task Force report that was completed in 2025. So that's kind of a supplementary document that's based on some stakeholders in the agricultural sector and the top important things within the agricultural sector of Oconee. So I've been looking through our comprehensive plan, and there are a few things that I saw that I thought were interesting. One thing, it's hard to know what all actually has been done, and because there's so many different entities that oversee this stuff. And so some of it's gonna be difficult to get to the bottom of, is this being followed through? Some of it is kind of subjective. I think that there are definitely things that have been supported in these tables. One thing I did want to draw attention to was in chapter 11 for land use. There is a current land use map, and it's on page, we're looking at, oh, so I have where am I? The land use map 318, page 318. That's different, it's different online than it is. All right, so we have on page 2 then of the land use, we have a chart that lists out how our land in the county is being utilized. And then if we move forward in the chapter, skip ahead to 7, we see a future land use part. And so there was a few things that I just found interesting on those numbers. And the discrepancy I found, I was really doing a lot of looking around. But the discrepancy I found was between the chapter of land use and natural resources. And so in the natural resources section, one of the objectives in the natural resources section is to expand parks and recreation. And let me see where I found that. That's let's see. There's a lot to sift through here. Okay, strategy. This is on land use 651. And I know this is not an agricultural element, but I found this to be interesting with the discrepancy here. So 651, that's land use on the 51st page. Strategy 6.224. So that says expand and maintain public parks and recreation spaces. And then if we go to our future land use map and our current land use map, that is in chapter 11. Is everybody with me? So we're on 11.2. We can see parks and recreation, 2.3% is what we're currently at with parks and rec. And if we look at our future land use on 11.7, we see parks and recreation has dropped 2.1%. And I'm not sure where that planning or discrepancy comes from. I'm not sure what that is coming, where that's coming from. But I thought that was a confounding or confusing sort of discrepancy between chapters, where in one chapter, one of the objectives is to expand and maintain parks. And then in the other chapter, we have a reduction in land use for parks. So that's just one area that is kind of an example of something that I found that I have some questions about that I haven't had time to look into further. But I think that the land use, current land use and future land use are both useful tools for looking at what our future plans for the county are and how those titles have been changed between the two. We have agriculture and forest has been changed to rural/agricultural and has dropped quite significantly in acreage. But then we also have an additional agricultural preservation in the future land use. That's a 15.8% of future objective for agricultural preservation, which comes out to around 48%. So we're still getting a little drop in agricultural and forest land. And just the titles for everything has changed. So I just have some questions about that. And that's just something that I've just started looking into and is an example of kind of what does this mean? Can we understand what these development standards are going to do for development in the county?
I think if we look at that Parks and Recreation, you know, they was taught a couple of years ago, in Highway 11 with the state park. Maybe a grant or some people was coming in to build some kind of motel maybe or whatever. Is that where we're losing 700 acres or maybe?
That's kind of where I'm wondering. And we have some future land use maps here too.
I know that belongs, that land actually belongs to the Corps of Engineers, at least to the Parks and Recreation.
You said potentially what was gonna be built there?
I know there was a grant that we had for development for that. They call it Sanctuary
The
Point.
county did?
Yeah, and it came from Columbia. But I'm not sure who the developer was that was going to build the motel or whatever. It was gonna be behind the Welcome Center.
Behind. Oh, yeah,
But I don't think
remember.
that's not gonna be 700 acres.
And is it already a national park? Is it already a park?
Yes,
It is a
it's
designated
leased,
park.
it's leased to the state park
Okay.
from Corps Engineers. It's been that way for, I think they had a 99-year lease, and I believe they've got about 40 left.
And that is, 700 acres is significant.
You mentioned something about 40%, what, after you were talking about
Oh,
the 2.1,
between-
2.3, what was the 40%?
Well, the 48% was so agricultural and forest is in the current land use being at 51.2%. And then on future land use, we've changed the title to say ag and rural, and we're at 31.7%. But there's an additional line in the future chart that says agricultural preservation, which is 15.8. So if you put those together, you're not at 51.2%. You've dropped a little bit in percentage.
Sounds like they've rearranged the classifications a little bit. What jumped out at me was the existing is 51%, and then the future is 31%, so that's 19% drop, so that's what's got me.
Yes. I guess we'd made up for it a little bit with because in this agricultural and land use, in these chapters, some of the objectives are putting ag land into conservation. And so that's why we've changed some of it into just pure agricultural preservation, which kind of makes up the bulk of that percentage, but we're still losing some.
There's also rural suburban, I don't know if you
Yes.
noticed that, that's probably part of it.
Yeah, so there is, in the current land use, there is a, let's see, where was it? There's extra stuff in the current one. It's been kind of simplified in the future one. Suburban transitional is a new line item, and rural suburban, yeah. So because some of those maybe agricultural, quote unquote, plots might be quite small and might be more in the classification of rural suburban than a working farm. But we also have a vacant land in the current, which we're at 5%, and that one has been turned into, it has been kind of parceled out into these others. And this does not include incorporated townships. This is just the outside acreage of the county. and there's some notes on that, like Deanne said, suburban transitional, where Highway 123 corridor that connects Seneca and Westminster is now designated as industrial on the future land use map. It's to encourage development into those areas. I think I had a couple of strategies that I had looked at on, let's see, chapter 8 is our ag chapter. If we look at these strategies, a lot of this information is also very helpful, just being on the ag board. It's good information for us to kind of be carrying with us for the public. So, strategy 8114. Limit non-agricultural development in productive and prime agricultural areas to densities and development patterns that are consistent with the continuation of an economically viable agriculture. So one recommendation that we can push is for that map that has our prime ag land on it, we can make a recommendation. These areas on the map need to be designated for non-developmental, they do not need to be non-agricultural developments. Limiting the development outside of those prime ag lands, because those are listed, those are plotted on the map. And then one strategy that was recommended by the task force as well as included on the comprehensive plan was 81110, I believe. I have that on there. Where did it go? Did it get taken off? Oh, yes, 81110. Create a staff position of agricultural communication and coordination to coordinate and communicate with farmers, foresters, local governments, agricultural groups, and the public. So this is something we recommended to council, I think a year ago. Last year. This is something that has been included in both of these documents, and it's something we have not seen yet as a staff position through the county, through this building. We have the Soil and Water Conservation District, but they have a lot of work already. They're very inundated with the work that they do. And so the recommendation for a staff position that's within this building, being a liaison with the agricultural sector of the county, that's something that, again, we can recommend if we want to, if that's something that we think is effective. So those are a few things that stood out to me when I was looking through all of this. And I'll open it up for any comments that y'all have, but this is some ongoing homework for us as the Planning Commission does all their hard work to do these development standards, and as we move towards the deadline of the moratorium. Does anyone have anything to add?
I'd like to say that we had, I think, 3 farmer and rancher listening sessions over the couple of years before 2025. We went out into the communities. I think we repeated it again the next year.
With the Ag Board?
The Ag Board did 3 farmer and rancher listening sessions. One was here and somewhere out in the community. Then the following year, we went out and had each one a meeting in each district. So we helped a lot of this input for this comprehensive plan. And what you said about soils jumped out at the whole chapter 6 of natural resources. It mentions soils, prime lands. I think that's that's a big focus. We need to hit that pretty heavily. We did submit a request for that position. We need to do that again, hit that a little bit. Some of the things that were supposed to be reviewed in 25, and we talked about these a lot. 8112, preservation and restoration of farms and forests. Limit non-ag development in prime ag areas, that goes along with the soil, that's 8114 you mentioned. Densities and development patterns in there, it's mentioned overlays, development patterns, kind of develop in a certain area, not sprawl. And that's an important one. Another 2025 was incentives to keep farming, such as income tax credits or differential assessments for property taxes, controls for preventing conversion of ag land to farm, non-farm use, that's 8115. Those are to be reviewed in 2025, and we talked about them, but these are some of the important ones that I think we ought to emphasize. Also was ag processing, that's 8125, ag processing, products processing facilities, and voluntary ag districts, we talked about that a good bit. Voluntary ag and forestal area programs, that's 8128. Those are some of the important ones that jumped out at me. So I think we should pick a couple and really focus on them.
So for this, just a little bit of homework for the Ag Board. Look through the chapters that are gonna pull you in and that you're gonna have the most sort of interest in looking into with your volunteer time that you're putting into this. Look at some of these recommendations, and we want to pull out the ones that we really want to push to the Planning Commission for, as they're doing their development standards, so that we can make just clear recommendations to council, have it on record that we have made these recommendations as they're having their meetings. I don't think there's necessarily anything that we can decide on right this minute, but we have these documents in hand now, and so just a little bit with your morning coffee, look through this stuff. These maps are interesting, the current land use and the future land use maps. Look at those, look at what we have, what the plan is for the county. And I like what you said about the sprawl with these developments. How can we encourage the limited sprawl of these just taking up a lot of space in a lot of good quality ag land? Does anyone have any final comments about these reports or questions about any of that?
Tessa, in the last 2 months, I think we've had 8 accidents on I-85.
I-85.
And every exit, pretty much, if there's an accident at the exit, you can detour traffic around right back on the road pretty quick. But when there's a wreck at the line, like we've had numerous, in the last couple of months, you have to detour them all the way up through Toccoa and come back down 17. And this has been an issue going on, and even when I was working with the state, I talked to them in Columbia, and they said it would really have to come from the county. But I got tied up in, they were doing, road construction on 24 at the same time, and here we had a truck turned over in the middle of the bridge, and traffic was havoc. I mean, it was people running over everybody, and just, nobody knew where to go. They went from around here that didn't know the countryside. And I don't know if there's anything we could push the county to maybe, there was a bridge on 59, and they took that bridge out. But we've always said for years and years that there needs to be a bypass 59 to go back and come in on the Georgia side. And that way, if there's a wreck on the bridge or near the bridge, they could go get off on exit 2 and go 59 and come back out over at the Highway Patrol office in Georgia. Now, I don't know if that's something, but if we have much more of this, it's a mess now. I'm just gonna be honest with you. All these people, trucks, and, you know, they had even mentioned last year putting a roundabout right there in Oakwood. Can you imagine all that truck traffic coming up through that roundabout? That would have been a havoc, you know. So keep that in mind. I mean, I just throwing that in, but I think it's something we might need to look at and ask the county if they can pursue the state to give us a bypass. Let's do a bypass right there at the Georgia line, because there's no way to go. There's nowhere to go. You got to go all the way up here to Toccoa and back down 17 to go around the accident.
Well, there is a whole chapter on transportation. So, and I briefly looked over it because it was interesting to me. So, I don't remember which chapter of the comprehensive plan it is, but we do have online access to the comprehensive plan. And if that's something that you're really seeing and you're really interested in looking into, they have, you know, the same sort of deal where they have objectives and strategies. And there's quite a few on there that I thought, well, that's a good idea. So, and they have kind of listed out the funding, potential funding allocated to these things as well. So you might look into those objectives under the transportation and see what can we push there for traffic in that area.
And it may have come up in some of these committee meetings. Have you heard of anything mentioned about transportation and bridges in the transportation committee or any other council or anybody as they talked about this
Not in any
tours and
meeting.
stuff?
Not in any meeting I have been party to. But I don't typically sit in on the transportation, those meetings, unless it applies to, you know, specifically our department. Just because of timing, et cetera, I have not been involved in those, so I'm not sure where they are.
Well, we could reach out to the transportation committee chair and ask. Because there's a chair on the council of that committee, part of the overall council, so.
We were talking about, you know, the end being developed down there. Before it gets developed, it would probably be a good time to put a bypass
Yeah, we need the right
in there.
infrastructure there.
Exactly. Before it turns into, if it does turn into motels or whatever. Down there in
agree.
Alabama.
You'd mentioned a long time ago about the 24 and the limbs hanging down. Can you recall what section it was that we, you know, we gave them a big, long list and they did some of that. What section were you talking about?
From Oakway toward town,
Oakway to town. Okay.
they're growing again.
Never stops.
It never stops.
Is that the primary place? Any other places bad?
They're everywhere. I mean, I feel like they need to check and see and do more maintenance on cutting the limbs off.
We can definitely make a recommendation for that stretch again. Oakway to Townville.
I mean, when you have tractor trailers getting over to keep from hitting on limbs on the road in the other lane, it's pretty bad with campers or, you know, anything like that.
24 is a state road, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
We can bring those two items up to the transportation committee and see if they.
It actually has federal funding.
Who's gonna do that?
I volunteer, I got it in the notes, limbs and Oakway to Townville and bypasses and bridges, 59 and 85. Remember how bad it was when 76, the bridge was out on 76? Chaga River?
Yes, for years and years.
Terrible. You talk about detours.
If we don't have any more comments about our comprehensive plan and the ag task force, those all kind of go together as far as how we can use them to make recommendations towards these development standards. So the next thing is just reviewing.
One more thing, a lot of them are, you mentioned, and we touched on it, a lot of them are mentioned in different chapters. Same
Yes.
thing mentioned over and over,
Multiple
so there's a
times.
pattern there that just recognize they're needed, so.
Yeah, especially cross-referencing the task force to the land use, natural resources, and ag chapters. Yes,
That gives it strength to the
yes.
debate.
So the next item is just reviewing the code of ordinances. The one that I wanted us to all be aware of, and just as we move forward in talking to people in the community and zoning, the county council and the planning commission have approved a name change in one of the zoning areas. And that is, instead of control-free district, it has now changed to general use district. And Deanne, do you mind just giving a brief?
No, it is a change in name only. The requirements for that area have not changed. Now, there may be some changes in the ordinance update, which would be a separate event. But currently, it literally was just to improve how that, district is viewed. Control-free gives the idea that there are zero rules, you can just do anything. And it also gives the idea that you don't need to permit anything, those kinds of things. So this way, general use is a much better description of what the intent is. So it was literally just cleaning up the verbiage and to give a better, direction as to what the intent was. So general use is a much better fit than control-free.
And they did have a third reading and opportunity for public comment, and there was no public comment, so they approved it at that meeting. It hasn't changed on the code of ordinances yet.
That happens, those are updated quarterly, so it just takes a bit of time for that to happen, because that's done through Unicode, who houses those ordinances. So those are updated quarterly, so it's not something we do in-house, so it just takes a bit of time for that to happen.
Gotcha.
Mainly just the name.
And literally, you can review everything, is all the same, it's just a name change, but it's just to give a clearer picture of what the intent is.
And then I believe chapter 32 is the development standards chapter of the code of ordinance. Is that correct? So that chapter is the one, if you want to review it and look at our current development standards that we have on our code of ordinances and where some of those areas could be improved. The planning commission is having ongoing meetings about all of this. And so if you ever have time to attend these meetings or watch a video or read the minutes from these meetings, that will help us inform how we can make better recommendations to the planning commission that will then bring it to council. Does that all make sense?
I went to the previous meeting and it was just, they were kind of settling on the nuts and bolts. It sounded like they were trying to line things up. This goes here, this goes here. And so, but I did not go to the one, was it last Monday? Did not go to
The 7th.
the 7th meeting. Yeah, I did not go to that one, but
It was a continued review, I believe, of the code of ordinances.
We established basically how we were handling things moving forward. The scope was approved. We discussed the agendas for the workshops and how that was gonna be handled. There is a special meeting on the 20th of the planning commission to go over those agendas now that they have been set for all the workshops that will be had. There'll be 8 workshops. Those are, not public meetings, but the planning commission meetings, obviously, all are public.
And those are on the first
Monday.
Monday.
Typically, the first Monday.
Typically
Yes.
first Monday of each month.
September's a little different because of, Labor Day, et cetera, so that meeting in September is September the 10th. But, the August meeting, I don't have the schedule in front of me, but it is the first Monday.
August is first Monday. At 6.
Yes. And the first, workshops are the 24th.
And those
then
are
the-
private.
Those are correct. And it's really staff just discussing with, a limited number of commission members, or if it's about roads, perhaps roads and bridges are involved, or various, input from the appropriate parties. And the public information meetings rather, are the 29th and 30th, the 29th at 2 p.m. and the 30th at 6 p.m. They will be the exact same format for both meetings, same things presented both times, but it's just to allow for the public to comment on what they would like to see in the ordinance, because it's, 3 chapters that are being reviewed, which is roads and bridges, and then chapter 32 and 38. So all of those would be reviewed, and you have the opportunity to make comments on that, because they all 3 are interrelated.
So the 29th is a midday.
29th and 30th. The 29th is at 2 p.m.
Is it 2?
The 30th is at 6 p.m., just to give an opportunity for different people to be able to attend. Some people don't want to be out late at night doing that. Then there's also, the opportunity to give written comment if you can't make it to a meeting. On the website, it's oconysc.com/ORDCP.
And Deanne has sent that, will send that info to our email.
Yes, I'll
So that we
forward the
have them.
information and pass it along to whoever, but I'll send you the actual, just an information sheet that I'm putting out with all that on there, so you'll know what's going on
Will
as
it be
well.
here in the chambers?
It'll be, yes, sir, here.
So let anyone know who's interested, invested, talking about this moratorium, overdevelopment, worried about land loss. These are their opportunities to come to the meeting and say something, give input. It's very important as we're moving forward.
That is July, right? 29 and 30?
July 29 and 30, yes, sir. And chapter 38 is the actual zoning chapter, which discusses what uses fit in what zoning class. So that's something to consider as well when you're doing your review. You may want to look at that, particularly like the zoning matrix in 38 says what fits in what zoning class. So those are things that are worth looking at as well when you're looking at, ag uses.
Okay. Thank you, Deanne. Okay, so that covers our review code of ordinances and knowing when these planning commission meetings are, letting people know about this public comment opportunity, and that this is all ongoing and has to be done before January. This is a time-sensitive matter.
How many workshops are they doing?
8.
8?
This, the initial draft will be given to, and when I say initial draft of all 3 chapters, will be provided to the planning commission in October for their first review. The final review would be in November, which would then be presented to the Planning and Economic Development Committee. They will have their review, and then they'll either send it back to planning commission, or they would recommend it, to go to council for their
December
3 readings and public.
to start through the readings.
Because the goal is, to have it completed by January 19th, so that we stay within that 8-month timeframe of the moratorium. They do not want to extend that date.
That's a final draft, January 19th, so we need to be pushing our recommendations much sooner than that. Looking at August, September.
The final, draft would go to them in November.
Okay,
So
Yes.
any recommendations would be preferred much sooner than later.
so we're looking at end of September is really our deadline for final recommendations.
Actually, no,
Earlier?
because that would be presented to, the planning commission will get that draft in October, the first, Monday in October.
So we have
So you have
next
August
meeting to
mhm.
discuss recommendations that we wanna push. And then our September meeting is the submission of those recommendations, finalizing those to submit at our September meeting. Is that too late for the
No,
second?
that would be the latest you
The
could,
latest.
you know, for those to be accounted for.
And then we can move on to other matters. Does anyone have any final comments about any of those agenda items?
Thank you for printing all these, Deanne.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Can just mark it up with notes and highlights. And thank you for this magazine.
Yes, thank you.
And I do believe it's time for a motion to end the meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Charlie makes a
Second.
motion. Mr. Blanton seconds. All in favor, raise your hands. All right, and meeting adjourned.